Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Talking About the Big Stuff podcast with Michael Cole and Matthew Cravat. I am Michael Cole.
And I am Matthew Cravat.
Tonight's topic,
it's not Dune. It's not David Lynch.
No.
But if you do want to learn about a particular director, there's a podcast series called The Completionists, and they will focus on one director per season. Like the first season was on Stanley Kubrick, and it's really excellent in-depth analysis between a bunch of three film nerds who really know what they're talking about. So I highly recommend you look up The Completionists. Don't stop listening to this podcast. I mean after. Let's look up The Completionists and check out the Stanley Kubrick season. I'm sure there's more seasons to come. But the Kubrick season was really interesting. I highly recommend it.
I didn't know you.
Unsolicited, unpaid thing there. You can watch it on the YouTubes, or you can go find it on the audios.
I didn't know if you listened to any of it or not. The last episode came out today, so last episode
I've
is
not
season
listened
1.
to the last episode. I can honestly say that.
Yeah, and I know that you did see the short film that was made for the season.
I know, brilliant acting, wonderful.
Yep, at least the first part. No, the acting. Was...
That's all I watched. I didn't watch the whole short film, frankly. I watched the opening scene.
You didn't want to see how the rat stuff came into play.
But the main part of the rat thing wasn't even in the opening sequence. Like we didn't show the beating, you know.
I included it. I might cut that because I don't want Wes to be like, oh yeah, there is no rat imagery in yours because it's in your hand, but it's not at all clear what it is.
The lines about it are not there, than the actual.
Yeah.
Thing. But actually, let me just say, the way the final cut came out, my wife and daughter was so startled when it just came to my face covered in blood for no apparent reason. It was clear what happened a second later. You're like, why is he? Oh my God, did he? And then it cuts back to Alex. It was so perfectly done. It really accomplished, I think, your goal in those two audience members, at least. Like they really were startled, and then were like, uh-oh. Like before they even showed Alex, they knew what they were going to see. It was very cool.
That was one of those happy accidents of filmmaking where Alex was so loud that his microphone sounded terrible at the end when he's like, "What are you doing? You're killing me!" Ah! It was so loud that like the audio was unusable. So I was like, okay, how do I get around this? I'm going to just show the crazy while we have the getting louder and fade him out, because it was just that, like, when you tap on the mic sound while he was screaming. And so it was unusual.
One of these babies right there.
He did. He just was so loud.
Yeah. I was killing him. So
yeah.
But anyway, back to the topic at hand, which is not The Completionist, which is a fine podcast, or The Modern Man, which is a fine Today's Modern Man, which is a fine short film. The topic is what it is.
Self-image, image, and self-awareness, and so I'm going to give it a different title than what I did for the live stream, because this is an unimaginative title, but it's also not super clear how I want to go about this. But as you know from my little brief thing on the last episode, I want to talk about the idea of the image that we project to the world in the sense, and being aware of that. And the example I gave in the last, when Matthew and I were recording the last episode 25 minutes ago, was
last week
was that Logan said something to me about how,
and of course he means his good friend, fellow social media giant Logan Paul.
No, my son said to me last night something along the lines of like, well, you aren't as scary as you look, or something like that, and the and there was more backstory to it than that. Sounds insulting, but it wasn't meant that way. It was kind of like, I forget exactly. It was either
intimidating, because you're a big guy.
Intimidating,
especially to little people like him and his
right. And he was talking about
there
because when I was watching other kids, whether it was chaperoning or like the neighbor kid was outside or something. And the way I am with Logan is not the way I am with all kids, obviously, because he's my kid.
Thankfully, we'd have to take him away from you.
Yeah. So, but like I'm very self-aware of the fact that I am a big dude and I can be intimidating to
You're a big
children.
duty. You said you're a big duty.
And to children and to women, and and I'm aware that I probably, if you're any kind of minority, you might look at me and be like, I don't know about that dude based
He
on
looks
this.
like he's from Massachusetts. Racist.
Yeah, or homophobic or anything else. I mean, I
All
think
the
that
things.
I think within like 30 seconds of me talking, people are like, well, he's not like a alpha like bro, but we don't know anything else. So but I think that it's an important thing, and we talk about that a lot when it's the idea with, especially with masculinity and men, like she like shrank up when I went in for like a hug, or like there's like things about like we it wouldn't intimidate me if a woman came up to me and or a woman hit on me, and it's like, well, yeah, because she doesn't have the
Because you're not in physical danger.
aesthetic she's not aesthetically intimidating to you. Not to say that a small petite woman can't hurt you, because given a weapon or just like a surprise attack or anything else, they can.
I
But
want some small woman to just kick the fucking shit out of you without a weapon. Just we'll leave you. We'll need a weapon, my ass.
well, if no, but you know what I'm saying. Like, if a small woman like wanted to use the element of surprise, kick you in the nuts, and
Right. She
then
needs
like,
the element. She can't possibly just be a better fighter than you. Has to be an element. You are one of those men who just think, oh yeah, what Ronda Rousey? I could take her. She's just a chick. I hear you. Your
you,
toxic masculinity is overflowing, my friend.
yeah. But my point being that like there are a lot of men, and I'm sure there's other groups where this is the other people in general where they take for granted the fact that like the I thought we were all supposed to. Well, I am physically big, and sometimes that is intimidating.
On
And
my screen, you're only like that big.
good for you. And so we need to be aware of how we project ourselves. Sometimes it's not my job to make someone else feel safe, but sometimes it is. When I was going for runs in my neighborhood in the mornings, if I was just going for the loop run that I was doing, and there was like a woman jogger, and sometimes this is like at the crack of dawn, so like the sun might be kind of out but not fully, and I'm running toward up behind a woman jogger or walker or anybody else, I would cross the street to give them space, or I would speed up so that the intimidation factor is a little, so I'm passing them quickly, because I'm aware that like, you see me
Like if
coming up
I'm
behind you
when
and
I'm
you're a,
walking behind a woman, like going from the parking garage to the office, I will look hardcore 60 degrees to my left while I'm walking so that she doesn't catch a glimpse of me in the window or something like that, looking like I'm checking her out or I'm too close to her. I'm like
yeah,
clearly looking the other way the whole time I walk to make
oh
sure it
yeah.
doesn't look like I'm being creepy. And like,
Well, I don't even mean just creepy, but I mean like
but
dangerous.
or
But
like
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
waiting for an opportunity to do something. I mean,
yeah,
usually I'm talking about going into the office building. It's not a private place,
yeah,
where, but like even in grocery stores, in stores of all kinds, big box stores, and at work. In work, we have a large break area that has a long counter and whole like seating on one side of it, like lots of room, but a tight squeeze where there's the microwaves, the refrigerators, the coffee machine, the tea, and all that stuff.
hmm
And I make a very conscious effort when I'm walking through that area because it's in the middle of like the hall, like the long building, and like so you walk through it all the time to get to the off conference rooms or whatever. I will consciously walk around the counter to the seating area so that I'm not walking up behind any woman who might be getting coffee, getting tea, or whatever, and feel like I'm sneaking up behind her. And I do that mostly because I don't want to. I'm not that worried about work, but like at grocery stores or like a Target or whatever, I purposely won't go in an aisle where there's just one woman by herself in the aisle because I'm also a big guy and I don't want it to be make her any concern that I'm coming in the aisle because she's there and because we're alone in the aisle and I might do something intimidating. So like if
yeah,
I see a woman in the aisle, I will skip to the next aisle, enjoy shopping in that aisle, and then come back to
yeah.
avoid. Like I don't want to walk up behind someone, so I try to make it a habit everywhere of just not walking up behind
Oh yeah.
women because I don't want to they have every right to be nervous about someone coming behind them, and I don't want to be that person who they're nervous
Yeah,
about.
men have given them enough reason, and and you just got to be aware of that. And that doesn't. There is a level to which I feel like, and I feel like this is largely a male problem more than it is a white problem or a straight problem or anything else. I think it's largely, the idea, this whole idea, but like, um, men have gotten really defensive about a lot of this,
Not all men.
Yeah, and I think that I get why it can be uncomfortable. I'll give you the example where I think like it is the most uncomfortable, but it's also completely necessary, which is if you go to the hospital with your spouse, they separate you for at least a few minutes. So we went when I was 14, my mom got in a really bad bicycle accident and her face was fucked up. And we went in, and my dad got the dirtiest looks because you can't tell that that's a bike accident. Just
They do
she's
with your
just in.
kids too. I mean, I don't know if you'll
Yeah.
take Logan
Oh
to
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
ER, but they will
We
separate
haven't,
you.
but yeah.
Not separate you physically, but stand between you and your child and ask the child how it happened, not ask you to see if
Yeah.
they look over at you
Oh yeah,
furtively
yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah,
Because one
and
time Jacob got hurt, and I spent the whole drive to the hospital because I told him not to do what he was doing, saying this is what happens when you don't listen to your father. And I said it like 100 times. And when they said, "How did this happen?" in my head, I could hear him saying, "This is what happens when you don't listen to your father." And I was terrified I would never see him again. And happily, he was like, "I wasn't running with the toy. I wasn't. I was just walking. I wasn't running when I fell." And I'm like, ah. You could tell he's lying there, and I didn't coach that. You could tell that. Okay, good. From now on, give the guilt trip after the ER visit.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we haven't had to deal with that with Logan yet, but like I am aware that that is an uncomfortable situation, but there's a reason for it, and
because
it has never.
He beats his daughter.
I've never. Well,
so to get a little sidebar. You all know Mikey. He's been on the show talking about his near-death experience, not weird kooky one, just literally he almost died experience, defacing his mortality. He has the most lovely daughter, Cherry Butt, what is she? Ricochet, as she uses in her comments on our YouTube. And when she was a teenager, she did a lot of theater. And one time they were doing a stage makeup workshop, and they had given her like the most ugly looking bruise shiner, probably like your mom had with a bike accident. Very realistic, very scary.
My mom's face was hanging.
Like, yeah, it wasn't quite hanging, but it looked like it could have been. It was so purple and just shiny.
Oh yeah.
And Mikey and Mikey is a big guy, and they went to a local like bar restaurant near the theater after the workshop, and she still had the makeup on, and every waitress and wait staff and customers were giving them dirty looks, like concerned looks, I should say. So Sammy, being Sammy, started like when they asked what she wanted, she'd look at her father and say, "Is it okay if I order?" Like she started acting like she'd been abused by him. So the waitress was freaking out. Like, yeah, she jumped at everything he did. Waitress was freaking out. And then when they were going to leave, and the waitress was at the hostess stand, like probably considering whether to call the cops or not.
Yeah.
She turned around. She goes, "By the way," and she like runs her finger through the makeup and shows her. She goes, "Makeup," and then turns around and walks out of the restaurant. She's an evil little woman whom I love.
When I was my friends Pat and Wes, who you will get to know through the Completionists if you watch/listen to it.
Because they exist.
They do. They've both been on this podcast, and obviously we just did a whole season of the Completionists. But when we were high school junior seniors, we were making a movie. It never got made fully, but we were shooting stuff to try to make a movie, and I had like a big bruise, and I was supposed to wake up in a ditch, like having been beaten up. And we went and we knew that where this ditch was that was right off the side of the road. And we were filming, and a cop just randomly comes up, sees 5 or 6 teenagers with a camera, and pulls over, and everybody else is afraid to like talk to the cop, and I get the purple so I'm like, I'll go talk to the cop, not thinking about this at all. And I'm like, we're just making a movie. And he goes, "Do you have a permit?" And I'm like, "No, we're 17.
We're kids.
We're just shooting a movie for fun." And he goes, "You okay?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, no, this is makeup." And he goes, okay. And then he like made us leave because we weren't supposed to be there or whatever. But yeah, he definitely like looked at me like, Jesus Christ, dude.
Like they said, you better go tell the cop nothing's wrong.
Yeah.
We're making a snuff film. You better go tell the cop nothing's wrong.
So what was I starting to say before that? I don't know. Anyway,
so you're saying like that like
it's
women
uncomfortable.
Have to be concerned because like even in like an ER, they will check that a woman's not being abused by her husband if she's coming in for an injury.
Sure.
And
I mean, I think that
also.
they do it both ways. I think like if I went in with a problem with Sarah, if Sarah drove
I don't know.
me,
When I passed down and broke my nose, no doctor asked me, "Did your wife punch you in the face?"
okay, but I've been told that they do it the other way. Maybe it's if it looks more like
you.
Yeah, or if it's just an injury that looks like it,
Yeah, like my broken nose. I had a broken nose, and my loving wife takes my comedy headshot to the ENT when he was going to do the surgery and said, "This is how it looked before it was broken. Don't fix it. I want it to still look this way." Because I had the opportunity to fix my giant broken ass looking nose, and she was like, "Make sure it still looks like this."
Yeah. Well, she loves you. I don't know why, but she does.
I don't know why either, man.
Yeah.
So, in another environment of knowing how you present yourself to the world, I had a director once. Work director. Corporate world director, not comedy acting director. Corporate world director, who she had been in HR at one part of her career, and she was very big on having her people focus on how do you want to be remembered at work. Like if someone says, "What's Mike like in the office?" What do you expect the answer to be, and what do you want the answer to be? And so build the way you act, and you perform, and you behave to get the answer you want to be your legacy at work. Like if you're expecting to get promotions, you want stuff, and you want to look like Matt, you're buttoned up tight. Be buttoned up tight. If you really don't give a shit about promotions, you want to be the one. Oh, Matthew is just fun to work with. He's funny and he's great to work with. Then play that up, but be aware that the way you behave is the way don't be the funny cut up guy if you want to be seen as the serious, intentional person. Like people will see you the way you present yourself. So be mindful of how you come across and be deliberate. So, and it was, I never really cared about how I come across, but when I would do like small term, like I've been at my current company for just over a year, and in talking to people from the old days, like from old stories, I am aware I have not had the same behavior that I used to have. I'm still on the kind of, probationary, not being my full ass authentic self. Not being inauthentic, but I'm not being as wide open as I used to be.
Yeah. I think.
But what are they going to do? Fire me?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of that comes into play that is really important for us as individuals. I definitely think that like you need to like. It's been something that I've strived for years or so. I think we talked about it with the identity episode. Again, this is like 2 years ago or so.
Was it this week?
No, I don't know.
Remember it then.
Yeah, but we do. It took me a long time to kind of figure out who it is that I was one person with my parents, and I was another person with the rest of the family, and then I was one person at work, and it took me a while to kind of get to be me the whole way through, and then all of a sudden I couldn't keep a job. I don't know.
They say they say you ought to be successful, just be yourself, but they say that based on people whose selves got them successful. That doesn't mean everybody's true self gets them successful.
Yeah. I will say that it's one of those situations where I think being myself has gotten me where I've wanted with people that it matters. Like,
if you want to be happy, be yourself. Find a place where yourself succeeds. Is better advice than you will succeed just by nature of being yourself.
But I was pretty much myself at Biomirio, and I obviously met you, but I also did people liked me because I did my work and I was.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with yourself.
No.
I think yourself, but I mean, I think there are workplaces where yourself would not flourish. I mean, same for me. I flourished at Biomirio, and I'm in a more stick up your ass place. I wouldn't.
Right. And when I first started at the Square L, I was flourishing
Just the two of us won't
because
say anything now.
yeah, well, I don't want to. Once he's
I
done,
know.
then we're gonna have a whole thing. But
Yeah.
I want to do a whole episode about it. But yeah. So when I started there, because I could do my job, they didn't care that I was, silly and weird and stuff because I was doing my job. And then all of a sudden, people come in and they don't want to take me seriously, and they're in charge, and like it's hard to like switch gears at that point because everyone knows you, and it's hard to switch. Like I can't pretend to be stuffy now because everybody knows me, and then they're
Reminds me,
they're a
I
bunch
had
of
a boss
assholes.
who used to send out what he called his pearls of wisdom. It was a morning email. And this was when I was in animal science, so not a very overall professional, kind of group. It wasn't like I was when I was in marketing and stuff. But and he'd write things that were kind of on the verge of being inappropriate for work without really crossing the line. And
Yeah.
he got some complaints from some of the um, managers under him that he felt it was a little like he was maybe crossing the line or coming too close, and it was inappropriate. So, and what he used to do is he used to write like summarize some news stories and then put a joke, and the joke is obviously what was pushing the line. So he kept sending his little daily emails out, but he'd stop putting the jokes. And then they complained that it's almost worse because they were thinking of what he would have said if he had made a joke.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say that I've been aware like, and this I've told this story to a couple people in my life, and I always get the same response, which is that's sad. So I'm excited to tell you because you won't think it's sad. But I have been aware of the creepy factor here since I was like 13, when I was in school, when we would go to things like to birthday parties for other kids and stuff. All we were getting to an age where boyfriends and girlfriends were starting to form, and people would all hug. And every time I would go to hug, like everybody else was doing, every single girl would like, and I don't hug. I don't like hugging, and I'm very much aware of like my presence is unpleasant, so I will try not to burden you with it, and so like that. But I think that is overcorrection. But like that is why when I'm at the gym, I pick a treadmill that's behind no one, and
And I
like to the
stopped
side.
coming up behind people on the treadmill and hugging them.
No, but I make sure that I'm not behind
Yeah.
the hot girl that's running on the treadmill in front of me. Sometimes that happens naturally, and then you're motivated. But I
Yeah,
also have
that's it.
gotten looks.
I don't
I've
walk
also
down the grocery aisle just because I don't
yeah
need to intimidate someone by accident.
yeah. I've also gotten looks at the gym when I start on a treadmill, and then 5 minutes later, a really hot girl starts on the treadmill in front of me, and I like when I'm on a treadmill, I'm zoned out. Like I'm especially towards the end of my workout, and I've gotten like looks from people where they've been like, "The fuck, man!" Like, and I'm like, "I've been here for 30 minutes. She's been here for like 20 minutes. I didn't like pick her." But I get the dirty looks, like, "You creep! What are you doing?" I think I've told this to you before, but one time Sarah was at the gym. I was on a treadmill. She was up a row and then like over five, and because just different treadmill brands, we like them different. Like one's a little
Mm-hmm.
bouncier. So she's on a different treadmill, and there's another girl that's also pretty hot. Two people over from her that's closer to me, like in between us. And at one point, I see Sarah has stepped off the side and is like swinging her leg to stretch it. And I'm looking because I know Sarah has a tendency to like roll her ankles. And so I'm just looking to make sure she's okay, and I'm looking, and this guy's getting off the treadmill directly in front of me, and like sees me as as I like stop and I look forward. We make eye contact, and he just like does like a head shake, and then it's like eyes forward, and I was like, "It's my wife. I'm not checking her out. She's my wife."
Yeah, that's why they like say, "Fuck you, mind your own fucking business. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about." That's always
Yeah,
a fun thing to say to someone. They love that.
yeah.
I say that to people.
I just wanted to be like, "I'm not being a creep. I'm not being a creep."
Yeah, to a guy who thinks I'm a creep, I'm happy to say "fuck you, mind your own
Yeah.
business," which shocks people. They don't expect that.
Yeah.
But to women who think I'm being a creep, I want to say, I'm sorry, I did not mean that, and try not to be that way. But if you're just commenting from the outside, fuck you. You have no business making assumptions of what's going on in the world. Not your job.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I agree, but I don't know. I also
so I have a story about me not knowing how I came across. This is when I was younger, when I was like, I don't know, 25 or so. I was teaching improv, and had this one group of students, and they were mostly college students at UNC. Most of the group, and my assistant directors and workshop teachers were students there too. You know, who were even through the workshops, and we're getting ready to evaluate the students, and for some of them, invite them to stay on to take advanced classes from us to in anticipation of joining the troupe. And Ross says to me, he's one of the students who helps me, I guess, let's say assistant director informally. He goes, the other day I went over to Carl, one of the students, went to Carl's dorm room, and he was just in the mirror practicing gibberish, just looking himself in the mirror and practicing gibberish language. And I was like, dude, what's going on? He goes, just Matthew commented on my gibberish. I need to get it right. I need to get it right. And like, he goes, Carl is so intimidated by you. He takes everything you say so seriously. And I'm like, me? I mean, this is me in comedy director land. So we're evaluating. We're doing the evaluations, and it's me and Ross and Anthony. Me the lead, and them there to chime in one-on-one with each person. So with Ross, and I'm like, people feel like you have this wacky, weird, out of the box like creativity that's like just out of left field, and he's just beaming. And I said, and a lot of people like that. I really don't appreciate that. I don't think that's where your comedy should come from. And he like deflates. And I kept just saying things, just slamming him for every single thing. And then at the end, I'm like, and so of course we would love to have you stay on for the advanced workshops because we think you're great. And he's like, what? And Ross is like, starts cracking up because Matthew's kidding. He thinks you're great. What you're saying. It's like, oh, and he goes, Matthew, give him the real review. And I'm like, oh, I didn't write a real one. I only wrote the mocking one.
nice.
Because I enjoyed the fact that he was intimidated by me.
I have in my life gotten along really well with Black people that I meet. Like I have a lot of Black friends.
Some of them are imaginary, some of them are real.
He's real.
See, everybody, you know that I'm not joking about imaginary friend when he reacts like that. He knows which imaginary friend I mean because he has imaginary friends. He says he can't picture people in his head. I think what he means is he doesn't know when he's picturing people and when they're really there.
Yeah. Anyway, so I have historically gotten along really well with Black people, and there is a thing that happens a lot when I'm meeting new people, new Black people, and getting along well with them, and then they realize that I know more about like Black culture than your average white person. Like I know about jumping the broom, and I know about all of these things, and it's just because like I take interest in my friends and like stuff, and like I learn those things. It's not a bit, but like I get the response all the time because I am every Black comedian's impression of a white guy, and they're like, well, like I think because I don't try to sound, we all know what I'm talking about. But like when one white person tries to fit in with Black people, I don't do that, and so they assume that I'm there's a little bit of a standoffishness.
And you don't like talk. You don't use the vernacular of the hip hop songs that you listen to. You listen to tons of hip hop, but you don't talk like you listen to tons of hip hop. So it surprises them.
Right, and so I get like that response sometimes where it's like, I wasn't expecting that. I'm like, I am aware that I don't give off that because I don't know how to give off that I'm friendly like to Black people without it sounding condescending.
I have many Black friends.
Yeah. So like instead I just want to show you by being friendly to you.
Yeah.
And that can take time. And so that's what I try, but it can also make things a little weird when they're like, "Oh, this guy like doesn't sound like he would, be open to anything." But he's like, and so I've gotten surprised from lots of people lots of times being like, "Oh, you're not a racist piece of shit." And I'm like, I don't know how to project that in a way that makes it like being authentic and projecting like non-racism is really a hard balance, because like if I did like the Nancy Pelosi Chuck Schumer thing of wearing like a dashiki, that's a problem. And you know what I mean? So like instead I'm just like, well, I'll just get to know, but I also realize that might be intimidating. I don't know the solution to that problem. And it's unlike when it's like I see a woman across the street, it's not the same thing as like, I'll just avoid them, because that is a problem too. You know?
So I'm not well versed in the hip hop arts, but occasionally there are moments where I know something, and you just pop a memory just popped in my head while you were talking. There was a woman I worked with years and years ago when I was in pharma, and so this one day she comes like she's gonna sit next to me and she plops her stuff down, and she goes, pop goes the weasel, and the weasel goes pop. And I turned to her and was like, you took somebody's record and you duped it. Then you took the record and you looped it. Then you got caught. Pretty stupid. Which is a Third Base song about Vanilla Ice. And she looked at me and she goes, "You, you know Third Base?" It was like totally shocked her, and which is really to be shocking. It's just a random song I happen to know. Like when I knew the You and Me, Baby, We Ain't Nothing But Mammals. I quoted that to you once, and you were like, since when do you know a reference like that? It's like a random one I happen to know.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It's always fun to break the expectation that people have of you. That's always a fun moment. I mean, it's a great source of comedy in general when expectations are not met. So it's fun when it happens in real life.
Yeah. I will say I've been asked a couple times if I ever like, oh, well, have you ever dated a black woman? And my response, and I think this is the best response ever, is I would have, but none of them would date me.
Yeah.
Like,
I say the old joke is, I can have any woman I please. Unfortunately, I don't please any.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So like, I'm aware that I'm creepy to women, that I'm very white to non-white people, and I just.
Well, I will tell you, you're not as white as you used to be. Right now, you're more of a light red. Or dark red, quite frankly.
It's actually like we got the After Sun with like lidocaine spray last night, and I've used it 3 times already, and so it's already so much duller. Like I was borderline purple at like on certain spots yesterday. Like everyone was concerned about me, and I'm like, I used sunscreen so
For those
many
of you
times.
who don't listen to every episode, Mike went to Dollywood in Tennessee and got a little bit too much sun while at the water park.
Want too much sun. Luckily, I did a better job sunscreening Logan than I did myself, because he's still a little burned, but he's nowhere near like, holy shit. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy. I went to 2 Pride events in the month of June, and I did not I got a lot of sun, and I got a little darker, but I did not get burned. And that's always like this thing's like where you don't realize your leg is in the sun because of where the shade is, and like you realize you have a stripe of red from where the sun was hitting you for too long. So this is one of the few years where I didn't get burned anywhere.
I should have put sunscreen like Dick on my chest, and then I would have like just the like white dick surrounded by red. I could be Captain Dickhead.
And that's how you want people to see you. I'm just trying to get back into the topic.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you, I mean, you're even bigger than I am, but like, do you mentioned that at supermarkets and stuff, but when you were a younger man, did you have the same awareness of your...
Well, I wasn't big until college. Like, I mean, I shot up like 4 inches between 10th and 11th grade. I literally ran into my best friend in the hall who was 4 inches taller than me, and we were eye to eye, and we both just stopped like we hadn't seen each other all summer because I've been away for the summer, and we both just stopped in the hall like, what the fuck? How are we the same height? Because I grew like, and I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt all summer, so you didn't notice that your like pants didn't suddenly not fit. Got new pants for school anyway. Like I didn't know what size my mom was buying. And I had grown like literally 4 inches because I went from 4 inches shorter than Jack to same height.
I shut Sarah up with 4 inches.
Yeah, got to give what you can get. I do have a story about being big and having to be aware of it. It's just not my story, but I made it up. when we were creating Blooper, my puppet, when we were creating the show that he came from, the Play Players, we did an improv day where we do it. The director was doing video camera shoots of the puppet, and you had your puppet, and he's basically interviewing the puppet, like, for behind the scenes stuff, but creating our characters at the time. And Blooper is a lot like Ernie in size and demeanor from Sesame Street. So he's a big head and a big body compared to some of the other puppets. Like, there are puppets that you could probably fit into Blooper that were in the show, like, different size puppets, and some were smaller.
That's a different kind of puppet show, but yeah.
So yeah, so I the story that I kind of developed about Blooper and why he was in the theater, though he was mostly a behind the scenes guy, was one was about his relationship with his father and how when he and his father watched TV together, and comedy would make his father laugh, and that's when they would laugh together. So he wanted to help make shows because that was that spirit of why he does theater. But part of his tentativeness around people and clumsiness, I played it up to me. It seems like when you're a bigger guy than everybody else, and when you're oversized in school, you have two choices. You become the bully, or you become the gentle giant who's going out of their way to not bully and not accidentally hurt somebody.
Yeah.
So that's the direction I took Blooper, that he's always very concerned that he might hurt somebody or might scare somebody, and wanted to be even more childlike than he needed to be so that he would not be intimidating.
Yeah.
So that was it became a big part of his character, because I feel like that's a true thing. Like, there was when Jacob was in preschool, he was one of the 3 or 4 biggest kids in his class, and he was the youngest, but of his age group, because his birthday's in September. But he was just physically big, and there was one kid whose parents were going through a divorce, and he was getting rough with the other kids routinely. And Jacob is not a fighty, violent guy. I mean, he got into fencing, and that pretty good, but he wasn't fencing when he was 3 years old. So he would get between this angry child and the other smaller kids and take the hit. Like, the kid would be mad, like hitting people, and he would get in the way and get hit. And when his teachers asked him, okay, he goes, yeah, I can take a hit. It doesn't hurt me, so it's okay. Like, he literally knew that, like, that was his gentle giant role, was to take the hit for the other kids so they wouldn't get hurt when his friend lost his temper because he was going through shit at home.
It's good he didn't say that at the hospital. I could take a hit.
I could take the way my dad raised me, I could take a hit.
My dad told me not to do it, and I could take a hit.
That's what happens when you don't listen to your father. I didn't. Yeah, it's my own fault. I didn't get the beer the first time Dad asked.
Yeah.
But I mean, but I do think there is that. Like, Jacob was well aware of his size and his premise, and that could be, and then he, being a superhero fan and Power Ranger fan at that age, knew that he didn't want to fight, but he also wanted to protect people.
Yeah.
I've told probably the story before, but I picked him up from fencing class when he was in high school, and the coach said, I'm a little concerned about Jacob. And I said, what? He goes, well, he's talking a lot. And Jacob was really introverted at that age, and he didn't talk ever. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And he goes, and he's talking, I think, German. And I was like, oh, and Jacob took German in high school. And I'm like, okay. So we call him over after he finishes his match with a kid. And we're like, Jacob, Wes says that you were talking in German a lot today. And he goes, yeah, well, I was fencing with this kid I don't like. So I was just telling him, I'm going to hit you in the shoulder, then I'd hit his shoulder. I'm going to hit you in the chest, and I hit him in his chest. But I didn't want to say it so he'd know what I was saying, so I said it in German. And I was like,
Japan.
I was like, Jacob, do you know how much more intimidating it was in German than it would have been in English?
That's
he's like,
hilarious.
oh, like he was trying, like he wanted to say, but he didn't want to be mean to the kid, so he said it in German so he wouldn't know what he was saying. Not realize that to most people, German is not a comforting language.
Yeah, you know what's scarier in German than in English? Everything.
So Jacob will give you a lecture on the way that we in America have been trained to hear German because of Nazi movies. Yeah. It's not the way German is usually spoken. Like, because Hitler kind of refined the art of yelling in German, like the way his speeches were. That was not German before Hitler. Like, that was his style, and it became a very popular style of German. So, especially in media and stuff. But real German is not such an angry thing, but it is our stereotypical way that we hear it.
But I'm also sure that Germans are like, I don't want to, like, to the point of this episode, Germans are probably like, I don't want to sound like that. just
Jacob Flame looked like that too. Like in college when he's like became his own man and stuff, he started getting the haircut that looked like 1930s teens in Europe would have.
yeah.
But the only like video we see of that is the Hitler Youth. Like, so he looked like Hitler
Yeah.
Youth haircut because it was normal across like all of Europe, but
Yeah.
that's the films that we see. Like, it's ironic for my my
No,
son
no,
to
no,
look
no.
like
It's
that.
not. It's. I'm just
And he
wanting
had
to
this
look
little
like the
mustache
Pope.
under his nose. It was really small because he really loved Charlie Chaplin. He was a big fan of Charlie Chaplin.
I just want to look like.
My son who speaks German and Arabic is with his Indian colored skin and Jewish features is a little intimidating sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
and
it's
his
also a
his
little over
5 or
60.
6 languages and his fencing ability.
Yeah, he needs to join the
He
NSA.
I was gonna say he could have been like a spy or something.
Yeah, he said that. I mean, he didn't know Arabic until
he could be
later.
right now, and we don't know too.
If he's a good one.
Yeah.
If he's a good spy, we'll never know.
Yeah. Yeah. I forget what I was going to say. There was something James Bond related. Oh, okay. This is off topic of the episode, but I have been seeing a lot of people talking about the possibility of Tom Holland being the next James Bond. Have you seen this?
I saw someone else's name being tossed around, but it wasn't Tom Holland.
Well, I said we were on the ride to Tennessee 2 days ago.
I wouldn't like that after seeing him in what was the action movie he did that was based on a video game.
I know, the Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
With one. Yeah.
I mean, he was fine in that, but I don't see him as Bond from that, like from his action movie.
Uncharted.
Yeah, and he was fine in that, but that didn't feel that feels like the right kind of action movie for him, not a Bond one.
Well, and I said I don't want to see him as Bond,
but it's more likely to be Timothy Chalamet because it's Denis Villeneuve is going to be directing the next Bond movie.
Oh, that's cool.
So,
I don't really want to see an American Bond. Like, even if he plays British, I don't want. I do think it should be British. It's like such a British institution that I just don't think it should be American. And what I'm about to say goes for both of them. But like I said, Sarah and Logan were disagreeing with me, but like I think that he's too young looking.
Yep.
And I don't mean, and they were like, well, Bond can be young. I'm like, yeah, Bond can be younger than Daniel Craig or whatever. And I get that they want a Bond that can last for several movies, but like Bond at every point, and I'm okay with a woman Bond or a black Bond. I don't have any problem with any of that, but they need to have.
Idris Elba is my perfect pick for Bond.
He's getting a little old to do the stunts and to have like the 10 to 15 year tenure.
I grew up with Roger Moore and Sean Connery, and they were both like in their fucking 50s making those movies.
Sure.
I mean, it was a really funny thing at one point where Sean Connery, when he came back, did you Never Say Never Again, and the whole shtick was that he was an old guy and he was too old for this, and he was coming back. He was a year younger than Roger Moore, who was making Bond in his prime movies. He was actually younger than Roger Moore.
I think Idris Elba definitely in his prime would have been the best option. I still would love to see it. I just think that they're worried because it'd be hard
to build a franchise around him.
Yeah. I think like unfortunately the time's kind of passed. It's like Bernie. I would love Bernie as president, but that ship has sailed.
Like Bernie as Bond. I thought you said British.
But
no, is Bond, James Bond.
So I was saying
against the billionaires, I'm going to take them all down.
So Sarah and Logan were talking about it, and I said like I think Tom Holland is too young looking, and this applies to Timothée Chalamet as well. And they were like, well, he could bulk up. I'm like, I'm not talking about like
he looks baby face. He doesn't look like he's this ex-Navy commander,
right.
Who's seen it all and been through it all, been through some shit.
Every version of Bond has been believably like, this isn't an origin story. This is a Bond is who Bond is at every
Daniel Craig was the closest to an origin story.
Yeah, and still he's seen some shit,
but
and
he's supposed to still had been a full Navy career. He's not young. He's had a whole career as a commander.
Right. Yeah. So I think if you want to like go young, you go 31, 32 at the youngest. And I get that they're Tom Holland and Chalamet. They just
don't look it.
Yeah, but like you need to like
I think you need to visually look it. Just like we're saying, You're about you're the image you project. There's an image Bond should project. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like
Great job
Tom
bringing it back.
Hiddleston could pull it off in a new way. It'd be a different kind of
Oh
Bond,
yeah,
not so physically imposing, but in good shape.
yeah. I also think Tom Hiddleston is more jacked than we all like realize. If you watch Loki, the show Loki,
The porn one that you watch, I know. Yeah.
they everything that they have him in makes me think that
They're hiding the physique.
they're hiding how jacked he is because he started off skinny, and they're trying to make him still look skinny, but it looks like he's more jacked than he like. To me, it looks like they're hiding it. But I don't like. I genuinely don't care what direction they go in with Bond. But I do think you have to have had a history with, like, Bond has to have a history.
Or Henry
And
Cavill. There's your Bond right there.
yeah, and that would get asses in seats. That's for sure. Asses, lady asses, gay man asses, some straight men asses, all in the seats. But all right, should we start wrapping up?
Sure, because you need to eat.
I don't even know if Sarah's going to get the food yet, but I am hungry. All right, so you start us off because you'd like to do the video part.
Hey, if you're watching us with your eye holes on the YouTubes, do me a flavor, okay? Go ahead and like this video and make a comment about it. Show us the way that you want to be represented. What do you do to be seen the way you want to be seen and heard the way you want to be heard? Make a comment. We'd like to know. And none of your racist hate speech comments from last week. Everybody who commented last week got their shadow banned by YouTube and had their comments taken out. So be clean, be nice. Think about how you want to be perceived. And if you're not listening, watching with your eye holes and you're listening with your ear holes, I got nothing for you.
If you're listening, go ahead and give us a thumbs up or a 5-star or whatever your podcast app of choice allows. Reviews are great. We love reviews.
Thumbs up.
And then, Jesus Christ. And
What
then,
has been seen cannot be unseen.
yeah. And then, if you, where was I? Okay.
Sorry, Sparky.
If just liking our podcast isn't enough for you and you want to do something more, you can go to patreon.com/talking about the big stuff. And on patreon.com/talking about the big stuff, you can choose one of 4 options. There's the $0 option, which is great. We want you to definitely do that. And that gives you access and updates as to when live streams are coming, like this one right now. Although you may be watching it afterwards, but that's fine. And then you can see when we're live streaming, which is also like a free way of getting the full uncensored thing.
You can see what I did to Sparky.
Yeah, there's a $1 version, which is just the podcast version. A few days. Just a few days early.
So if you just sign up, you get a chance to watch the video streaming free, and it does us a bit of good because it lets Patreon know that you like our show. If you sign up for the $1 version, you can watch that live stream, or you can just wait till it comes to your ear holes, and it will come to your ear holes on a Monday instead of a Friday, so you get 4 days of ear hole goodness before the plebes who give us nothing get it.
Yeah, I don't like the ear hole goodness. And then if you give it for $3, you get some of the uncensored stuff in there, and then $10 is just the whole shebang.
You get me. You had to hear me say, "It's arrived."
Yep, you do get to hear that. You don't get the backstory on it.
You don't get the backstory, but
that's eventually that'll be like $100 patrons. And Matthew. Oh, actually, before we do our final line, I do want to just say I wrote a book, and if you
wrote a book, you completed it. Are you a completionist?
I am a completionist, but we're plugging the book, not the
completionist. I'm sorry.
And it's called The Dinner Party. It's a novel.
Check out the unboxing on TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah, and it's about a young man's journey to sexual maturity in a world that is in conflict with his upbringing. I think that's the best way of saying it. And it's available for pre-order now. It's called The Dinner Party. I will link it in the show notes. if you want to pre-order that, or if you want to
And
go
pre-orders
to.
are better than orders. I'm just saying, in case you don't know how the book biz works,
Oh yeah,
waiting for it to be released and buying it is actually not as good as pre-ordering, because pre-ordering tells the world that the audience is there for it before it even
yeah.
comes out.
Oh yeah, yep. It also it's a bigger bet. Not that I have a chance in hell of making New York Times bestseller, but if the first
But it might
week's
make the New York Post bestseller, and that's
but
almost as good.
but the first week's sales are all pre-orders are included. So like my only shot at it would be if you pre-order. If I get enough pre-orders that somehow that bumps me on like a slow week or something. If my release date is a slow week. So anyway, it's coming out November 4th, but you can pre-order it now. I will link in the show notes. And you can also download the first chapter for free on my website, michaelchristophercole.com. And I feel like I plugged so much. So Matthew, do you have any last thoughts?
I just want to thank you all for being with us this week, talking about the big stuff, so we can present ourselves to you the way we want to be seen, heard in your ear holes.
Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. It's just the beginning. If you have thoughts or questions or topics you'd like us to tackle in a future episode, drop us a line on our social media channels. Engage with this video when you are now watching it as a VOD on YouTube. Send us an email. We love hearing from our listeners, bringing us topics, because if you leave it up to the three of us, we're going to eventually be talking about underwater basket weaving. So we would appreciate you guys reaching out a little bit. Don't forget to subscribe to Talking About the Big Stuff on your favorite platform. Give us a 5-star rating. Engage with it. Criticize us. We need to grow and be better, and you're going to help us be there. You're going to help us get to that point. It really helps us more to reach out and also to keep the conversation going. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back next week with more big ideas and more thought-provoking discussions. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and keep talking about the big stuff.
The preceding podcast has been a Chocolate Diamond Media LLC production. Copyright 2023, all rights reserved.